Hi, I'm Dr. G, and this video is a continuation on the introduction to happy relationships. This particular video is about organization. The chapter that we have, part of the introduction, is the organization of a relationship. Remember to subscribe and leave comments for us. That would help us a lot to actually create better videos for you. Now, you gotta stay tuned and really listen to the whole video, because I have a tip of the day for you at the end of this video that you would really benefit from, as it also relates to this subtopic, the type, purpose, and reason for relationships. Now, if you haven't watched our introductory video on happy relationships, make sure you watch that, because that is really going to bring you to this point of the subchapter of organization of a relationship. You know, people come into relationship for a reason, and I'm not sure if they know what that reasons are. You know, you have to actually have a finite number of reasons why people come into a relationship. It can usually fall into a few categories. One, very much traditional, very much, long established over millennia, is a religious reason. Some people get married or into a relationship because their religion ordains it, because that's a duty for them to simply get married and propagate and have children, create a family. That's part of their not only individual identity, but actually like a higher call, a higher calling, a higher duty, like I mentioned. So that's one category. The other category, usually at times, is simply family influence. Many people simply get married or start a relationship because of that pressure that the family members put on them. It hasn't been an individual desire necessarily, at least the timing of it hasn't been individual, but more under the pressure of family members pushing the person to finally get into a committed relationship, aka marriage. Another major reason really is kind of the stage of growth and development, especially kind of financial, if you will, dependence, or reasons to really, it's sometimes a lot better to move away from the family of origin, get together with another person, manage your economy, if you will. By finance, I mean really the whole economy of a person's life. Together with another person, you're kind of stronger, you're together, and there is an aspect of a sense of removing loneliness too, which then find its way into a third category, which is more of a individual reason why people get into a relationship. But there is a timing to it. There's almost a stage or phase where people decide to get into a relationship. It's not necessarily the most ideal relationship, but because of those both individual and circumstantial economic reasons, they may get into this relationship. But at times, it may very well be kind of limited to very specific financial reasons, such as a person is actually looking for someone to take care of them. I would say, they have decided they personally are not really that capable in life of financially taking care of themselves, so they get married because someone else more powerful, financially powerful, can take care of themselves, because that has to do with literal resources of life. If a family costs money, kids cost money, future costs money, retirement costs money. There's an expense associated with that type of let's say the one of the most important chapters of our life, being an adult, growing old. So many people just simply get married because of those financial reasons, economic reasons. Other people really just get married because they want to have kids. They're okay with their single life, but they come to that again stage of life where they believe having kids is more or less part of their identity development, part of their life satisfaction. And in order to have a child, they decide to enter a relationship with the next best person, again, and not the most ideal person. They don't even have to fall in love. The reason is not for them to impress or gratify, satisfy the family. and so forth, and financially they may be stable too, but they just want to have that child. They want to have the sense of, belonging to a new family, having created that new family, and that makes them, feel better in life and more content and fulfilled in their own personal quest for, let's say, self-actualization. Then also, a lot of times we have arranged marriages, and that's for other certain purposes. Let's say at times you see that people immigrate to other countries, and as part of that process, there's an arranged marriage, basically, even though at times it's also illegal, at times it's legal, but again, and then within their own culture too, at times there's a setup for arranged marriage. Again, due to usually either family influence or other, again, non-individual reasons. A person, and then at times, very much individual reasons, like I mentioned, if somebody wants to enter an arranged marriage for financial benefit, for residency benefit, or for other types of arranged benefits, literally. And then, in addition to that, you have certainly also a very, high impact type of a reason that is at times overwhelming a person, which is very much biologically, psychologically, as well as biologically determined, and that is a sexual, sensual attraction. People simply at times cannot really overcome that. They don't see it separate. A sexual, sensual attraction for them is equal to a very committed marriage. So, and that's good enough. If they're feeling that sexual attraction, they don't necessarily think about everything else, whether or not that person has, enough money or enough family, or enough intelligence or enough caring, whatnot, because of that sexual experience and gratification that they get. Especially in this, usually this is more valid for men than women, because that's just how their sexuality works, if you will. But ultimately, they too are looking for more of emotional connection and attachment. But we will not get into that. This video is not about sexuality. But I thought it would be important to bring that up, as at times we may see that difference. And then a lot of women simply also getting more into this committed relationship based on an emotional gratification and satisfaction, encapsulated within, I would say, sexual emotional relationship. And now, they can be mutually exclusive. They don't have to coexist, but at times they do coexist. So, but again, like I mentioned, at times people may feel just so emotionally connected that that's good enough for them to commit to each other and marry or enter a committed relationship, again, regardless of the other factors, if they're present or not. It's good enough for them, and generally people call this falling in love. That's the most simplest way of putting a label on it, and becomes more of an individual journey and reason why they have entered this relationship. So bottom line, these are very finite reasons why people get into a relationship. Now, you may wonder, what's the whole point? Well, the whole point is that, first of all, a lot of people don't categorize this in a finite version. They may think of reasons to get into a relationship as very much infinite and without any boundaries. So by such, or as such, what they do by this definition, they may set themselves up for a failure because they haven't looked into this more categorically, more methodically. Now, why would it be helpful to look into this category methodically? Because then what you can do with that thought process is that you can really bring yourself on the same page with your partner. So if we know there are finite reasons for people to really get married and in a recommitted relationship, it would be very beneficial for us to find out about our partner's reasons. And that is my tip of the day at this end of this video, at least, that for you to figure out what those reasons are for yourself and for your partner. If you have never thought about it, you may be on the wrong, if you will, trajectory, and it may create some unnecessary conflict. Let's say you got into this relationship that you are in for sexual needs, for sexual reasons. You were highly attractive to this other person, or even emotional needs, highly attracted to the emotional capacity of the other person. However, your partner got into this relationship because of, for instance, religious duty. They thought of this phase of their life that they, based on their religion, or again, family pressure, or other reasons that they have had, rather than sexual attraction, rather than emotional attraction that you are on. So what that creates is a major source of conflict, is a major kind of contradictory disposition that may actually create more problems than necessary. And especially if you're not paying attention to it, you're not really communicating well with one another in terms of those primary core needs that are rooted in those original reasons why you got into this relationship. And it may lead you to almost this superficial assessment of the relationship, and or ignoring certain aspects of the relationship that are important. Let's say if again, as I mentioned, if your need has been sexual or emotional, but your partner has never thought about it, they may not even be paying attention to those important aspects of the relationship to you. They may be completely ignorant about those needs, and they may kind of miss the cues or the clues or the signs, the signals that you may be sending, and may be completely on a different wavelength or frequency, paying attention to other stuff. And in fact, as a result of them not getting a response that they need in terms of, let's say, importance in terms of their religious duty or the role that they have to play individually for themselves in life to feel fulfilled and self-actualized, then they may also be missing out on something and not really being able to communicate that deficit to you, and vice versa. So check that out. Make a list for yourself. What is it? What is that specific reason that you have decided to enter into this relationship? What's that purpose? Why did you get into this? And has it changed over time? That's the other question. You may have gotten into this relationship based on, let's say, first sexual attraction, but then over time you have learned that there is a lot more to your needs and preferences and to the relationship itself. Maybe you have discovered some opportunities of, for instance, let's say, emotional connection or family. You may have discovered that, wow, you didn't know how much the family that of your partner, the extended family, the close relationships, as well as friends that this person has brought in to your world, has actually fulfilled some of your needs and desires that you didn't know you had before. So that's very important, and ask your partner what was the reason. And by the way, don't get surprised or shocked if you find out that those reasons and purposes are different. Just remember our first concept, core concept, diversity and core trajectories. People come from different positions. They shouldn't necessarily be surprised and shocked that they are actually at times on polar opposites of the same spectrum. So check that out and let us know what you find out. I would love to hear from you, specifically when it comes to the type, purpose, and reason of a relationship. And I'd be glad to answer some of the questions that you have. Just post those questions on my channel. Thank you very much.